Wesley Fofana. Wesley Fofana is an interesting one, right? So Wesley Fofana is, I want to say this in the right way, is a player that we know there's going to be another bid. There's going to be another bid. Chelsea are on their way to making a new bid for him. And they are looking like they are willing to pay somewhere in the region of around £85 million for Wesley Fofana. The new bid is going to be around about the mid-70s. They're going to test the water and see if they can get him cheaper. But the word is that Chelsea are willing to go right up to, if not surpass, that £85 million mark. We've just seen them bid by Kukurea for 62 million, 55 flat fee with 7 added on. You're not going to look past Chelsea spending that money on Fofana now, are you?
No, I mean they have to. You know, their back line is I wouldn't say decimated, but you know, they have lost quite a few players back there. Rudiger, Christensen, Alonso's gone, I think, or about to leave. So, you know, they have to replenish those positions and increase the quality. So I would imagine that Chelsea would want to get this done. And I said this at the beginning of the window about Todd Bowley, is he's going to want to make a splash on his first time round. He's not going to want to fail. He's not going to want to let the fan base down. He wants to, you know, make sure that those maybe doubters don't have much to doubt after that, because what Chelsea fans want to see is that he's willing to put his money where his mouth is, because after Abramovich, the next guy is always going to be scrutinized so much. So Todd Bowley wanting to spend this money is not a surprise to me, especially the way that the window was going earlier on. So Fofana, you know, I see that, you know, they're saying that they're obsessed with him. You're always, you know, the player that you're going after at the moment is always your number one option, and the player that you've always wanted. But Wesley Fofana, like De Ligt, like Jules Kounde, like Koulibaly, like all the players that they pretty much went after this summer window in the back line are quality players. You know, Fofana, I think, was always kind of destined to go to one of the top teams. I actually thought that he would end up at a Real Madrid or a Barcelona, but going to Chelsea is a good next step for him. He's definitely like up there, you know, in terms of the young center backs in the league. So yeah, I can definitely see them spending that money. And so when you start looking at it, Kukurea, who, for people that don't know, I'm like the president of the Kukurea fan club. I think he's excellent. I think he's amazing. And then Fofana and Koulibaly, and all of a sudden we're looking at Chelsea a lot differently than we did a couple weeks ago. You know, so it would be a really good pickup for Fofana, and Leicester need the cash. They need it badly. So I don't see them turning down an £80 million bid in any way, you know, in any way, you know. So I think it's definitely something that will get done. It, you know, also did Fofana take down like some of the Leicester stuff off of his profile or something like that?
He did that days ago. He's pushing for that move.
Yeah, so it's probably going to get done.
I think it is, and he's pushing for that move. He's looking for that move to get done. He's looking for the deal to happen, of course. And I mean this with all due respect to Leicester, but Chelsea are a different kettle of fish, you know. And
well, they're basically Chelsea B. Most of their players, Chelsea's players over the years have all come from Leicester.
They're like Chelsea.
It's their feeder club.
Yeah, like a feeder club. And look, Leicester are a good-sized club in the UK. They've got a very loyal local fan base. They did phenomenally well, however many years ago it was now, 6-7 years ago, to win the league. What they did was against all odds. It was out of this world. They've tried to progress from that point, and they had a couple of years where they looked like they, especially under Rodgers, that they could really become a top 4 team. And it hasn't happened. They've won that FA Cup. I think the Leicester, this little powerful period from Leicester, I think is over. I think that the Newcastles of this world will catch and pass them. I think West Ham are now past them. Wolves probably should have done, but they haven't quite done it.
Villa's coming.
Villa are spending money, and they could do it. I think Leicester City are finished in terms of being a team that we talk about as maybe being a Champions League contender, you know, coming 5th, coming 6th. I think they're out of that race now, especially with Brendan Rodgers. So, of course, Wesley Fofana is going to look at this and say, listen, I want to move to Chelsea now, because Chelsea, if they don't get him, they're going to buy someone else, and that might limit that option. He was pushing for it. How good is Wesley Fofana? Do I think he's worth £85 million now? No. Do I think he's worth 60? Probably. So you're slightly overpaying, but I trust Thomas Tuchel so much when it comes to defenders. He's made the world believe that Antonio Rudiger is one of the best defenders in the world. He isn't. You're going to see that this year. Trust me, there's going to be compilation after compilation of this guy making mistakes at Real Madrid, especially in the Champions League. Rudiger's very good, but he was never worth the 400 or 500 grand a week he was demanding. It was the Thomas Tuchel system that elevated him. And listen, great managers make average players look good, good players look brilliant, brilliant players look world class players look off the chart. And that's why Tuchel made these players look better than they really were. You know, you'll see the same thing with Christensen at Barcelona. Like, he will be an absolute nightmare. I don't think they realize how weak this guy is. I know La Liga isn't as physical as the Premier League, but they'll struggle. But Chelsea are signing an absolute star of the future. I think he is better than Jules Kounde. He is Premier League proven. Yes, he's had that injury, but he had it at such a young age. In fairness, I know leg breaks look horrific, but they're actually far less damaging than ligament damage, Achilles tendon snapping, and things like this. So as long as the clean break and the bone heals right, at a young age, you're generally speaking going to be okay from those. Look how quickly Harvey Elliott came back last year. Now, if he'd have done his knee ligament, it would have been 6 months longer, and it takes a lot longer to find your feet again. No pun intended. But look, I think Chelsea are onto a winner with this one. It may be slightly overpriced, but I think over the course of time, it will look okay, if that makes sense. You can get 5, 6, 7 years plus out of this guy. You suddenly throw Wesley Fofana, Cucurella, Koulibaly, Reece James, Thiago Silva in. That's as good as any defense in the Prem. It's as good as any defense in European football. And titles are won because of your defense. Games are won by your attackers. Titles are won by your defense. And I just think Chelsea, and then all they've got to do is add a midfielder and another attacker, which they're talking about spending 300 million. That's the thing. They're talking about spending 300 million pounds in one summer. And that's come from Jason Burt, who is very credible. If they spend that kind of money, City and Liverpool have got to look over their shoulder. They have to. They have to.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at some of these comments here. Terry, why are you so confident that United will sign both Tielemans and Neves? I'm not. It was purely a hypothetical. It's a pure hypothetical of if this happens. And I use the names of players that have been linked to us. So I'm saying that if we were to do something like that, my confidence levels would change. That is all I was saying. Needed a sixth this summer. Man Edwards will see CFC. I don't quite get that, but thank you. Martinez feels cheap now. 60 million for Fofana, 75 million. Oh my God. Left back at 60 million and Fofana 75 million. Well, that's the irony of the window, isn't it? It's I've always said in the past, when a player flops, their price tag always flows along with them. But over the course of time, what slowed the inflation rates of players down was the fact that COVID happened. But we would already have moved on to players like Fofana being by now 90 to 100 million pounds if COVID hadn't happened. If you didn't have that 2.5 year period where people had less money, everything was rising. When people were paying 50 million pounds for fullbacks, 80 million pounds for at the time, the top centre backs in the league 4 or 5 years ago, everyone was saying, oh, that's horrendous. I went in another 5, 6, 7 years time as the TV deal monies rise, as the commercial deals keep rising, those deals all look cheap. No one expected CV19, did they? Like, eventually you're going to move in another 5, 6 years, fullbacks will be 70, 75 million. Because I know that monetary sums are there still, but the inflation in football, how much money's in football, grows at such a high rate in comparison to the general inflation or the general increasement in the economy outside of it. So I'm not surprised to see that. But
don't get it twisted. You still overpaid for Tyrion Lannister. Let's keep it real.
Tyrion Lannister.
Yeah.
Is that what you're calling him?
I'm just joking.
He's gonna embarrass you guys this year. I can't wait for him to make Arsenal fans cry. I can't wait for it.